Hello and welcome to another video review. This is the Blackwell Convergence for PC. This is the third game in the Blackwell series and the follow-up to Blackwell Unbound. It was released in 2009 by Watch Games and it was to a fairly decent amount of acclaim. People generally like this series. And it's kind of weird to talk about each game individually because you really have to look at this series as a whole. You can't really look at it as one individual game over the others. And the simple reason for that is how they actually play out. Now that's something I discuss when I get to storyline. But suffice to say, after I played Blackwell Unbound, I was really pumped for Blackwell Convergence. I was looking forward to seeing how things were expounded upon and how they could really develop the characters and the concepts that they've introduced in the previous two games in the series. And so, the real question is, how well did they do that? Well, not like it matters all that much in this case, but the presentation is pretty much on par with the previous two games in the series, although the sprites actually are better drawn. They're more on the level of the remastered version of the Blackwell Legacy. But they actually look better than that. They're nice and crisp. The animations are nice and fluid. In general, stuff looks very nice. There's quite a bit of color in there. The difference between this and the Legacy was that the sprites are so well drawn in this one that you can actually tell what things are now. So you don't even need the text to tell you what things are. But even then, it still has the text when you hover over things, so that does help out quite a bit. But the visuals are pretty comparable to the others. There's quite a bit of detail in the environments. They did a really good job of making everything pop out and fit the game very well with its art style. And the sound design is, once again, very well done. The music is very nice. It fits the game very well. And the voice acting is pretty much top-notch for an indie game. Abe Goldfarb is reprising his role as Joey Malone, of course. And this was the game where they actually introduced Rebecca Whitaker as Rosangela Blackwell. If you played the remastered version of the Blackwell Legacy, you know how her voice acting is, but it's actually somewhat better in this one than it was in Blackwell Legacy, to be honest with you. I'm not really sure how, but okay. And they do their roles very well, and as well as the other characters in this game. All of them are voiced very well, and they did a very good job with that. So everybody comes across as pretty believable, and each has their own sounds and their own wit to them and everything. So it's very nice to have this sort of quality in an indie game, especially with one that's an adventure game like this, and it's so heavy on the dialogue. But ultimately, it's the story and the gameplay that are going to really carry this game forward. And the gameplay is pretty much exactly the same as it was in Blackwell Unbound. The difference being that, once again, you're playing as Rosangela. And so, instead of switching between Lauren and Joey, you're now switching between Rosangela and Joey. And they have pretty much the same functions. They still do things differently, like Joey can still talk to spirits, Rosangela can still interact with things and such like that. And it's still pretty much the same style of play. You're still going around talking to people, trying to learn new things. You're trying to find objects that you can use as clues. You're actually doing a lot more research in this game than you did in other games, so that's another element that they explored. And I'm not really a big fan of how they did the research element of this game, because sometimes it can be a bit unclear as to what you really need to enter in terms of research, because the way you do it, you actually type in subjects, and sometimes you might have missed a clue in the dialogue or something like that, and you have to remind yourself of it. So that can be a slight issue, and it's one thing that actually tripped me up a couple times in this game. I had forgotten to research something, and so I was like, oh wait, I need to go back and do this. So that's one element that you had to keep in mind that's actually different from this game. You actually had to put in more effort into it than you did in the previous two games. It's no more difficult than those other two, but it is a game where you do have to put more effort into it than just kind of breezing through it like you did in the previous two. It's still not difficult, it's just you have to pay more attention in this one. But what really matters is the story and the characters, because that's the real strong point of this series. And this is where I'm going to have a really, really hard time with you guys. I really don't want to spoil the storyline of this game. In particular because this is the point in the series where everything converges and makes sense. So if you haven't played the Blackwell Legacy or Blackwell Unbound, and you're wanting to know what happens in Convergence, all I'm going to tell you is that the game starts out with Rosangela having accepted that she is a medium, and so she's looking for leads on spirits she can help out and such like that. It actually introduces you right off the bat to her trying to move a spirit on to the next life, or next plane of existence, I guess is the best way to say it. And that's how it introduces you to the game, and then the actual story involves a movie star who died, and you find this out after going to an art gallery, and they talk about that briefly. But you have to help him move on to the next plane, and then it goes into a deeper story that is actually very strongly connected to Blackwell Unbound. So if you haven't played Blackwell Unbound especially, you're going to have basically no idea how significant all of these connections are, and how everything coming together in Blackwell Convergence is as profound as it actually is. And this is where everything really comes together and makes sense. So, I don't want to spoil that experience for anyone, but suffice to say, this is the point in the series where I realized not only were the two games very clever, but they were way cleverer than I was giving them credit for, because they gave me that spark. They gave me that want to actually go further into the series and learn more and see how these characters develop. And that really becomes apparent in Convergence, where it actually explains things. And it does still keep you in the dark about a few things, and you still wonder. So Dave Gilbert has just done a phenomenal job keeping me interested in this series. I want to know how things progress in the Blackwell Deception after playing the Blackwell Convergence. So, really, again, I have to reiterate this. I can't reiterate this enough. You need to play this series in sequence if you're going to play it. You need to play the Blackwell Legacy, and then Blackwell Unbound, and then Convergence, and then Deception. Because if you don't do that, then things will not make sense. You're going to have no idea what's going on. Particularly with Convergence. If you jump in on this one, you're going to have absolutely no idea what's going on. So, that's something to keep in mind with this series. It is very much a sequential series. So, if you played Blackwell Legacy and Blackwell Unbound and you like those and you want to know what happens in Convergence, get it. You're going to like it. It's pretty much a guarantee you're probably going to like it. That said, it is not a very difficult game. It is fairly short. It's something like 2 hours, maybe 2.5 to 3. So it's not a very long game, but it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's just enough to keep not only explain everything and make everything make sense and be a very interesting game in its own right and very enjoyable experience, but it also keeps you wanting more. And so you want to actually go on into the Blackwell Deception and learn how they explore certain concepts further. So, again, it's really good. And to be honest with you, this is probably the best game in the series so far. I give it a 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching.